Welcome everyone to Virtua Vibes with me, Parves and Pierre. Today we have a special guest who Pierre is going to introduce. Pierre, you have the honors, man. Just go for it. Who is this bald-looking on screen?
I love it. I love it. So we're on episode 3 and we've finally hit the bottom. Well, it's a lot sooner than I thought, which is good. So let me introduce to you Ash, everybody. Ash is our Chief Strategy Officer. Been with the business from the start. Ash, do you want to say a few words?
Introduce myself or what? What do you want from me? Because this has been a night.
I don't know.
Can I say he looks really good looking? He's a good looking chap because he's brown, he's bald, he's got some fuzz going on in his face. Reminds me of me. So Pierre, good looking people with you today. You must be flattered.
I feel like the ugly sister today compared to you two with your shiny heads.
Before the podcast, I had a thought. Isn't this what we call an Oreo cookie? 2 browns and a white.
You know that whole discussion we had about being appropriate and stuff. Do you remember I told you? Yeah. I briefed you about it before the call. I think the wheels have fallen off like immediately.
I think we're going to have to do some serious editing after this call.
I did not get the memo. HR said it's completely fine. So I'm just gonna go with it.
Sitting there in his fancy studio in Dubai, lording it all over us all, and he thinks he can just come out with all this dirt now, this filth.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah. Mate, you need to come down to earth a bit more. Yeah.
All right. So where were we actually? We were introducing Ash.
I think you were trying to introduce me. You're trying to introduce me, and frankly, look, I'm disappointed.
You are
let me
in all of the AMAs. You've been in all the spaces. Everyone knows everything about you. So say something nobody knows.
You know what? You can't just, you as an interviewer, you're going to draw out the information. You can't just say something people don't know.
Isn't that a good question? That's a good question.
Guys, let's wheel it back. We've got this other bold dude coming to us live from, where are you?
London.
I can't remember where you are. London.
Slough.
Thank you.
London.
Come on, hit us with it. Tell us about you. Tell us something, Ash, that we don't know about you. Otherwise, mate, you can sling your hook and get off the call.
I feel pressured now, and I feel a bit threatened, I must say.
Well, it's working.
But yeah, everyone knows me. I'm Ash, CSO Virtua. So been here since the very, very beginning. One of the first 3 people. Was part of the initial vision of the company. We really wanted this to be a metaverse, VR-based metaverse. And I've been really early into Web3. When I say early, I mean, I guess I wasn't as early as others. We've been in the space since 2017, and I used to travel to like a lot of the conferences. A lot of the relationships that we have now, a lot of the stuff that we did when we went to market with Binance and did all of that stuff was actually based on going out there to these conferences. And it was a bit of a club back then. So I remember some of the stuff I had to do. There was, a lot of the hub was Seoul back then. A lot of stuff was happening out of South Korea. And after the conferences, they had these things called meetups, and meetups were in various places. And there was one in Gangnam, I remember, at Gangnam, they call it, but in Korea, they call it Gangnam. I remember just sitting there, and it was a presentation for another project that was just starting up. It's called Chili's. I remember that, who are really big in the space as well now. They got some really cool stuff. And I didn't know anybody. I was sitting there in Seoul, and I just remember waiting outside because the lady that I was presenting was like, she really seemed switched on, knew what was happening. And I just remember waiting outside until her little crew decided to get a taxi and just walked up to them and just introduced myself and stuff. They probably thought I was a weirdo.
We still do. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, everyone else does still. But that was like a really great intro into like this network and entering this world and just sort of talking about what we were doing. And back then, no one was really talking about metaverse. No one was really talking about NFTs. So it was kind of like a very, very strange thing for them. But off that, we ended up, I met Hash, I met like loads of the early funds and made some really great links out there. Yeah, I used to literally walk up and down with Ifti and stuff, we used to go up and down to all these different places, and we used to have the old VR headset, which back then was a Rift. It used to be a big chunky headset with 2 sensors. And we used to have it in one of those trolleys, you know, like your luggage trolleys. And we'd just be going and showing it at different shows and stuff. So yeah, when wireless Wi-Fi came out, when wireless VR came out, my life was a lot easier. But yeah, man, so pretty early.
So why did you get into the space? Like, was there something that prompted you? Was it something that you enjoyed in terms of being in this gamified space, or this is something new popping up? Let me explore it.
Well, I think in terms of games and gaming, yeah, since I've been a gamer for years, since forever, since I can remember. Commodore 64s and Spectrums and Amigas and PCs and the early PlayStations. I remember I traveled to Tokyo and I was one of the people that bought the first Sega Dreamcast, so I remember doing all of that. I think with a lot of people came into the space, the Web3 space, through crypto and wanting to learn more about Bitcoin and for me, like I remember having this light bulb moment, which is, I've done a lot of stuff, in management consulting and all that sort of stuff in my former lives and careers, right? But I remember this one discussion I had with someone who was like, if I'm sending you a bank transfer, I remember there was some sort of bank transfer and it's a real pain. It was like I sent the proof to somebody and they hadn't got it and the funds hadn't come and I was chasing the bank and stuff. I remember speaking to somebody and they're saying, with Bitcoin or crypto, this doesn't happen. And I said, why? I said, because if I send something to you, you can independently check that it's been done, like as a third party. And that was like a big light bulb moment. People was like, hang on, this is amazing. A trustless transaction, where I can send something to Pierre. And if I say it's sent, you don't have to take anyone's word for it. You look at the data, you look at the blockchain and say, yeah, that went. He did it then and it went. And that's actually at its core like a really amazing technology. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I got into the space, which is like
we should trial that. Why don't you send me some of your most valuable?
I'm not
NFTs?
Sending you anything. You're untrustworthy, and I'm just it's not happening because of that poor intro you did.
Mate, that was the best you're going to get.
You said you were going to do press ups.
Did I? I don't remember saying that. Okay, I'll do them. I'll do them to finish. I'll do 3 before I collapse. I got a question for you, right? I mean, you've been in the business now. I mean, or in the category like 5-6 years or something like that. Could you imagine? Because I find, it's for me, it's such the pace of this category or this industry we're in, right? As we all know, is on fire, right? And things change so rapidly, and that brings pressures, but it also brings it's exciting, right, as well, because it's the unknown and you don't know what's necessarily going to happen and you're moving at pace. Could you ever imagine not working in this category anymore? Because I'm at a point where I just don't know if I could anymore.
No, I mean, look, I love what I do, and sometimes I can't see the forest in the trees, but when I tell people what I do, they're like, this is like the best job in the world. And I guess it is in so many ways, because like just this week, what have I done, I was on the phone to a TV studio. I was talking to like Kevin Hart's team. I was coming up with some of the law around some of the cool stuff we're going to do in the metaverse, looking at generative art, speaking to the team about, what the rollout's going to be in the metaverse, speaking to the guys about a big event that's coming up in October. So, so much cool stuff that we're going to do, and mixing and bridging these cool worlds, which is like the traditional space, where you come from, Pierre, and then kind of like putting the Web3 spin on it. Like I was on the phone for hours. I was on a meeting yesterday for hours with like this really prominent kind of fashion icon who want to come into the space, and just brainstorming about what's happening right now, where I see the space moving in the future, what the opportunities are in this space. What people aren't doing, where they could move in, what's the white space there. And, having these big brands talking to little old me about, right, how can we form our metaverse strategy? Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
My coolest moment was my first day or second day. I was talking to a Bollywood celebrity. I can't name the person right now, but that was a mind-blowing moment. I mean, imagine I'm a big fan watching his movies, and suddenly I'm talking to him. It's just ridiculous, right? But it's the space. It's everyone wants to be in the space.
It
So
is
the space
ridiculous.
is hot.
I was trying to be the picture of professionalism on that call until Jawad said, "Oh, my daughter's a huge fan," and brought her into the call. And I was all right then. And then I brought my daughter into the call. Yeah. So yeah, that was cool.
All these exciting conversations you're having, right? Because I know you have a lot, and you and Rory have a lot of these very cool conversations with some very cool people and some cool IPs and stuff.
Rory
you
just
got
sits there
anything
looking pretty.
Well, yeah.
Trying to. He's not got the shiny head that you two have, that's for sure. Have you got anything? Have you got any tidbits or anything you can talk about? Or you can tell us about at this point? Well, you're the one that starts yelling at me if I talk about them. So
yeah, well, exactly.
Don't act like you're the people's person on the call.
Oh, the PP person, the PP person.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point, because you do.
I remember I talked about something on the show, and I got a stroppy message. You're the one that always leaks stuff. He's Mr. Was it beyond point, beyond brand, messaging in the right way? Whose audience are we talking to? I get these lectures regularly.
Ash is the Mark Ruffalo of Marvel.
Well, I mean, what I say to you in private,
I'm the Tom Holland,
and what I say on here is two different things. But on that point, is there any tidbits you can give us without busting the dam?
There's nothing specific that I think I want to get into right now. I mean, our focus is really the land sale and all the stuff in and around that. I can say that I've just seen a new generation of the land bots. They look awesome. Some of the attributes that the team have come up with for them look amazing. This is all about Web3, right? So the Web3 mechanics and stuff that we're doing are great, so I'm really excited about that. And in terms of those discussions, those discussions are ongoing, and they always happen. But to your point earlier, who could have thought? Who could have thought that the space would be like this and everyone would be talking about? Who could have thought the VMAs would have like a metaverse category? Who would have thought? Yeah. It's changed and evolved so much, and it still is. I think a very encouraging thing is the Kevin Hart experience was very well received, and it made people really be able to visualize what they could do with their brands. So having a lot more discussions in and around that, a lot more people are coming to us and saying, well, could we do this? Could we do that? Because sometimes it's really hard. That's kind of one of the biggest areas of discussion, because we're multi-platform, because we do a lot of different things. When we have discussions with a lot of IP that aren't native to the space, they're like, could we do this? Could we do that? Could we do this? And the answer is, yeah, you can do all of those, but you've got to have a strategy. It's got to be like where you're headed, what you're trying to do, what you're seeking to get out of this, and then making it a bit granular. And sometimes because, it's very clear, us guys who are in this space is very clear at what it is, where it could go. But when you've got like bigger companies and you've got people that are trying to figure it out as they go along, sometimes those discussions can get a bit lost in the ether. It's like, we can't really understand this. Let's just focus on what we know. This all seems a bit confusing for us.
I really find it hard to explain to people what I do, right? It's hard for people to even comprehend like stuff like metaverse. Like, what is it? It's hard for people on our level, right? But in Web2 corporate companies to even think about what is the possibility, right? And they cannot. Yeah. It takes a while for them to get into it, to understand. So I completely understand what you're saying.
It is tricky, there is definitely a mentality shift. This whole space has a mentality about it, doesn't it? It's like fast moving, hacker type mentality, do anything, screw the rules, all that kind of stuff. But you have to understand the commercial realities behind it for a lot of these companies. I was in Vegas for the brand licensing show. So all the big companies come there and they talk about licensing stuff. And on the last one, they were like, just don't talk to us about NFTs. It's a toxic category. There's too much noise around it. We don't really understand the environment, blah, blah, blah. Every time we do it, we get egg on our faces. I was okay. We're not talking to you about NFT drops. We're talking to you about utility and a new type of consumer product and how this will benefit you and could elevate your brand. And then when I started talking about, Web3 gaming, started talking about all that journey, they were like, oh yeah, that'd be interesting. that thing would be interesting. We just don't want to do that thing that everyone else is doing. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of education that needs to happen, and there is a mentality shift that needs to be there. You need the right people in those companies too. You definitely need the right people in those companies. You know, and there are, you know, bringing new people in who kind of know a bit more about the space to manage those jobs. So the stuff that DC are doing now is a lot different to what they were doing 2 years ago, because they brought somebody else in, and they came up with that NFT cow campaign, which is pretty cool. Yeah. You know, Paramount brought new people. Yeah.
Apparently, Paramount is going to do a Mean Girls NFT drop. It's rumored at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we had all those rights, right? We had Mean Girls, Godfather, Top Gun, Naked Gun, Airplane, Sunset Boulevard, all that kind of stuff. But we're really early on. So the Genesis stuff is actually with us. Like, so if someone wants to go hunting on OpenSea and stuff, you can actually get the Paramount first ever NFTs, which I'm sure they're going to have some utility in our metaverse. We're still allowed to use them, and the Top Gun stuff as well, 3D Top Gun helmets and stuff.
So, man, you are always on it, right? I want to ask you a question. What do you do for downtime?
Downtime, what do I do?
Other than being being on WhatsApps, answering questions, being a celebrity for us, going for all the AMAs, requesting me and Pierre to come on the show. You know, what do you do in your downtime?
When you say requesting, you mean saying if you don't let me on the show, you're both fired, I think was the word.
I was being kind.
Yeah, why wasn't I should have been on an opening episode. Your ratings would have popped. No one even told me there was this thing called Virtua Vibes. No one tells me anything around it.
Well, it was an experiment.
Well, we wanted it to be a surprise for you because we knew you were loving it.
Yeah. No, I do really like the show. I do like the tone of it. What I do for downtime, everyone knows that I'm an MMA guy. I enjoy that. So I like my UFC. I like combat sports. I like my WWE and all that kind of stuff as well. You know,
wow, you have time for all this.
Watching it. You got to make time. You know what? I'm pretty disciplined when it comes to that kind of stuff. You know, I love reading about all this stuff in general. I love to read about it. So like the book I just finished is called Hooked. Really cool book.
Talks all about by Nir Ayal, right? Persuasion. Yeah.
So I find that stuff awesome to learn about. So a bit of reading, trying to lose some weight, balancing all those bits and pieces.
Yeah. So, yeah. I've asked Jawad over here. I have the same question for him all the time. The man is like 1,000,000 miles per hour doing like multiple things. And then he's on top of all the TV series, the movies, the books. And how do you do all these things? You're like, I just know to multitask.
He just doesn't sleep much. That's all.
Yeah.
That's his philosophy. But yeah, he stays on top of a lot of that stuff. I probably watch a little bit less than him, but I do like watching the Marvel stuff. But I do it with the family if I can. So what She-Hulk yesterday, I get super frustrated whenever streaming services launch stuff without dropping a collectible or two. I had a discussion with them. About that. I spoke to Netflix about that. I've spoken to everybody about that. I think the way in which we consume media is going to change. It is changing, and I think digital has a ton to offer in that space. But yeah, man. So that's it. And the other thing I've got this thing called time chunking.
Okay.
Time chunking basically is I have.
I've heard of this. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the way I work is that I break my day into these sections that I know at a high level what I have to do in those sections. That's my priority. So the first couple of hours, is my school bits, my workout bits and whatever. Then the next bit is the next couple of hours is getting through any sort of emails. And then you have a bit allocated to biz dev, a bit, so that I find, I'm new to it, but it does work, because this is the thing that, this Parves, you get probably pulled in 1,000 different directions because there's 1,000 different activations happening in the company. All right. And then you're putting out fires, you're doing all those things, and you find out you've got to 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and you're like, well, I haven't done the stuff that I needed to do at 9.
Yeah. It's usually like I've done a lot of things, but I haven't done anything.
Yeah. So, it's very easy to become a busy fool, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I've been working on. And it's going all right. Yeah.
Oh, very nice, man.
So we've got CNFT Con coming up, right?
Yeah,
Tell us about that. Tell us about that. Tell us more.
Is there something you can drop to us right now? Something big, something hot. Can you say? Yeah. Can you say it? Can you say anything? Come on.
Well, so CNFTCon is almost like the first Cardano-centric event that we're going to. We've been to a couple. We went to Consensus, and we were part of Cardano stand there, where we actually talked about Cardano Island for the first time, and it was great. But this time, we've got our own stand there. We're gonna have a bunch of different things going on there. We're bringing one of our new brand partners there as well. So they're coming out to join us. They're gonna bring something cool with them. We also will have the map there so people can see it up close of Cardano Island. We're also going to have one of our games there with a leaderboard, so people will be able to play Jetpack Jump, a Web3 game, and see how they can do with a few prizes. Yeah. And then an opportunity for us to, get out there and speak to all the great people that we're working with and just interact with the community. And you never know, we might have some great people from Cardano joining us. So
Pierre,
it's going to be
nice.
Fun.
Can we push it a bit more? Can we name the brand? It's your call, man. I'm going to ask you. What do you think? Because I want us to be the podcast that reveals it first. I don't want the other dudes getting it.
And you know what? You're right, because if we let Ash go on anything else,
he is on everything. We miss it, right? Should we say it? It's your call, man.
Yeah. Do it. Say the brand and say what we've got coming up.
Say what we got coming up. Say what's the juicy stuff. Because what we have is awesome.
Yeah, so Virtua is working with Shelby.
Woo!
So Shelby, big part of Americana.
Hey, you weren't supposed to say about Shelby. We've not announced it yet.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, Shelby's coming there. Big part of Americana, amazing cars, iconic cars. People have seen the films related to it. Carroll Shelby's American icon. Everyone knows the Cobra, the Mustang. It's been in so many films. We're going to bring a Shelby to the event. An iconic one will be there so that people can be there with the car. We're going to have some really cool NFTs that are linked to Cardano land sale that are going to be available just for that event because we're opening up the mid window. We're going to have a great panel. Talking about brands, talking about, ourselves and our vision for taking this brand on its 60th anniversary into the metaverse and how we want to, this isn't just about drops. This is really about building a Web3 centric automotive experience, with the Shelbyverse and moving onwards from there. It's going to be really cool. And the thing is that, their cars are so beautiful. If you look at a lot of the stuff we see recently, we have to squint to say, oh, is that a pretty car or not? But those cars are iconic,
Have we?
John Wick,
I can't remember.
John Wick is Shelby, yeah?
Yeah, he's not Mustang.
Have we confirmed what model we're going to have at the event?
Not quite. I had a call with them yesterday and they said they're just going to come back to us on it. But last time I was out there, I went to the Experience Center. Anyone who's in Vegas should go check it out. There's a whole Shelby Experience Center. It's got the GT40 from Le Mans. It's got loads of cool cars. And the thing I love about Shelby was that they're really fan-centric.
Yeah.
They've got the Experience Center. And if you go to the workshop, and what happens, the way Shelby work now is the latest Fords come in, Shelby are the ones that tweak them. But our activation at this stage is not the newer stuff. Which is the classic stuff. Because Ford obviously, are much more involved with the latest stuff and probably have their own vision. But if you go to that workshop, there's a wall. There's a corridor you go down. There's a wall before you can go into the workshop. And it must be 10 meters long. And it's just full of signatures. And I asked them, I said, why is this got graffiti all over it? And they said, what Carol used to say is that you are the people that make Shelby because you're the people that drive it. And anyone who takes a Shelby signs their signature in that workshop, which I thought was really cool. It's you're a part of this. You go to the Experience Center, you see all these number plates on the wall, which are the number plates of all the Shelby owners from the official Shelby owner club. So the people are a big part of it. And that really spoke to me in terms of the agency you get in Web3. It's about you. It's about being part of it, So yeah, man. I think that there's some really exciting stuff that we're going to do.
Everyone should know that Shelby was announced here on Virtua Vibes, not Virtua Talks, Not dev update, not AMAs with Ash or with Jawad or with anyone else. With me and Pierre.
I like the way you put me first, then pause.
But with Pierre
it's
and
all about
Parves.
him. It's all about him. It's the last 3 weeks. His ego's just.
My God.
I was going to say that I love that. You know what I love though is it's such a great example of demonstrating a brand, right? By doing stuff like that, and that's putting your money where your mouth is. It's like the whole Patagonia thing, right? Was announced, and just people who actually demonstrate what they believe in. I love that. Love that stuff.
Yeah. And the thing is that, what I really always try to do stuff that, because of our capabilities, tech capabilities, we've got a lot of different opportunities for people. So, mobile, I'm really bullish on. I'm really excited about where this space is going to go with mobile. And that's why, I'm always on everyone's case about where our app is at. And there's a lot happening there.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big part. Because of all the different capabilities we've got, I feel like we can offer a lot more. And make sure the brand is the thing that when we bring in a brand partner, it really pops, in a way that it doesn't do anywhere else. And there's very few activations I've seen in our space that do that. With the brands that we have brought on, there's a wider vision for all of them, which can move them forward, but also move the space forward. So, for example, if you look at what the plan is with Yorkshire Cricket, for example. Yorkshire Cricket, why did we pick that? Because we had a real life stadium base that we can use and then overlay stuff with the metaverse experience built around a game that has like global fandom. So the vision is really to use that to build out an entire sports activation, which is anchored in a lifestyle that people love, a game that people love. That moves the space forward because, there's tons happening and tons of opportunity in sports in the metaverse, and it's an area that I think has an opportunity to grow. So that's why we're there. Why are we talking to footballers? Why are we doing that? Because these spaces are going to grow. Why are we talking to fashion? Because these spaces are going to grow. And what's the metaverse? And for me, my perspective always on the metaverse is the new social. It's like how people are going to choose to interact in the future when we're not tethered behind laptops, when we're not tethered behind devices. It would be VR, it will become AR. That's how the tech will evolve, where it moves away from what it is. Like us guys, right? The three of us are on a call, but I don't know who you're looking at. I don't know where your eye contact is. It's not, it is normal to a degree, but it's not the same as being in his room. You can't have a side conversation. I can't hear where sound's coming from. Those are the cool advances that are going to come in the future, where I can be in a place where I can be with you, we can be together in one place and have those meetings and have those conversations. And the metaverse is that, the metaverse is going to be that. Now, we're limited by what technology is now. But if you bring that and combine that with agency and, true ownership, you're changing the dynamic of the relationship with this sort of technology as well. That's what virtual is about. And that's what a lot of Web3 metaverses is about. It's like changing that dynamic and also, that evolution of social, plus doing it in a really, really fun way. And we come at it from this whole gamified perspective because we come from the gaming world and gaming stuff, that the games work because there needs to be a reason to stick around. And that's why no one hangs around in Web3 metaverses, because they're boring. Mm-hmm. Nothing happens there. There's not enough users. Things that make things fun is there's people buzzing around, it becomes a destination, and like if you look at massive multiplayer online games that exist right now, and that's your Fortnites and all of those, the PUBGs and all those kind of games, people want to go back because it's a great gameplay experience, but failing that, people go back because they want to hang out in the Crucible, talk to their friends and whatever that might look like, a shared experience, building communities. And that's what it's going to be about in the future. So my kids will go to a virtual destination. They'll meet people from all around the world. There'll be a cool thing they can build, create a community they can interact with, they can learn, they can build, they can game. That's what metaverses are going to be all about. And it's going to be user generated. It's going to be users are going to be creating this and building this and making things appealing. Just like happens in real cities. Right? Mm-hmm. Cities can be ghettos or cities can be really fun. You discover these new places. People are building businesses. People are creating places for entertainment. It's just that with Virtua, there's this whole gamified engine underneath it as well. So, land has resource, you've got these bots, you're building an economy, it plugs into games. All the stuff that we know works is where we're beginning. And all the stuff where we think is going is stuff that we're going to layer in, as people get, more important. When the fashion brands are talking just about virtual fashion shows, or commerce brands are talking about virtual shopping, a lot of that stuff has friction right now. It's not that easy to do, right? It's like, I always say this, and you guys probably heard me say this on calls to our external partners. It's like, I generally don't think people care how stuff works. They just care that it does. I don't know how that one swipe thing works on Amazon. That buy it now, just swipe. Because other websites, they'll make me put in all the stuff and my CVC. It's all drama. It's easy on Amazon. I don't know how they did it, but I love that they did. In the same way, we talk about the plumbing too much in Web3. We talk about, it's on Cardano, it's on Ethereum, it's this ledger and it's proof of this. And we love talking about it because by definition, in this space, we're early adopters, right? But like, people aren't interested in that. Generally, people aren't interested in that. My kids aren't interested in that.
I agree. My example is always, I don't care. I don't care or know what's under the hood of my PS5. I just want to play the game. How it works is irrelevant to me. And that's how I look at this. This whole thing.
And I think it's true. It is true. I mean, we have to worry about the plumbing, but we don't want the user experience to involve that. And when that all starts becoming seamless and fun and cool, that's when you're going to see all these things layered on top of each other. But like right now, people talk about metaverse commerce. I want to walk into a virtual store so I can buy these items, these real world items. And I'm like, well, you just do that on a website. It's easier.
Yeah.
Why would you go to a screen to go to another screen to buy items that are in lower fidelity than on a website?
Yeah.
There has to be a why. I think there has to be a why. And that's what people are trying to figure out. I don't think replicating the real world experience in the metaverse is where the alpha is. I think it's about doing new cool stuff that's going to be about. So, it's not, sometimes the answer isn't as simple as just replicate what you see and stuff. So some stuff is a little ways away. But for us, the land, the gamification elements, the bots, the collecting, the trading, community building, all that I think is really exciting, a really great place for us to begin the journey. And then all the, the brand stuff, like, being able to race that shell, being able to drive it around the metaverse, then taking into a game that we're creating. That's next. And then it becomes now you've got the metaverse commerce, you've got the virtual runways and fashion shows and all that sort of stuff. But like, it's and like the Kevin Hart thing, the way in which I saw that compared to how other people saw it was different. It's like in Web3, everyone was saying, this is really good for our NFT drop. We're getting additional utility for the NFT. And, it's all about utility. And it is, we get that. But the way I was talking about it outside to those Web2 audience, I was saying, look, this is an entirely new way to consume content that's never been done before. And how you can reward people, fans of your brand, with content in this new, interesting way. And they got that. They understand that, right? And that's another way to tell that same story, right? And that's kind of what I do, is figure out different ways to tell those stories. And it's like, and Heartbeat was super engaged with it. So like, we're creating this exclusive piece of content, and it's going to be in the streaming room. But think about movie trailers, right? It's still so boring the way, like, I was one of the first people that saw the No Way Home trailer. I think I was like 60,000, right? The 60,000th person to see that trailer. I stayed up past midnight to watch it. In the morning, there were like 12 million views of that. But it was a very conventional way. We'll drop it on YouTube at midnight.
Yeah.
Right, that's fine. Yeah. But what if you could do something like this? What if it could be something like, there's in the Instagram feed of Marvel Studios, there's something in the background, a QR code. That QR code takes you to a screening room, and it unlocks the content in some way. The first people get to see it there. we do that stuff. Fans love connectivity. We love engagement. We love doing all that sort of stuff. And the metaverse can give you all that stuff. It can really take you on a journey if done in the right way. So movie reveals, shows, content, that's all going to be there for the taking. Live events, everyone talks about our virtual live events. And if you actually look at virtual live events, the appetite for them has gone down post-pandemic. People want to get out a bit. People want to experience that. And these are all the things that you can begin to do that have got me really excited and stuff. So I ramble, I get excited about this stuff.
Pierre, Ash did mention Yorkshire Cricket Club. Are you going to give him a bollocking?
I did pick up on that. I was just going to say, if anyone's not heard about the Yorkshire County Cricket Club, that's because we haven't announced it yet. But again, you heard it here first, people.
We've been very careful, and you just come in and break all the rules.
Well,
to be expected.
I think that's always been my problem. That's why I got suspended from school. Yeah.
Should we talk about that? No,
I got suspended for fighting. I had my sister was in school, and so I was training at that time in martial arts and stuff as well. And then I got into a fight with a sixth former who said something to my sister, and we had a huge fight in the school library, and I got suspended. We both got suspended, but I got the sympathy because I was only 13 and he was 18.
Oh my God! Okay.
How long did you get suspended for?
4 days, a week. I got suspended for a week.
Wow.
But on the plus side, my dad did come to the school, and his whole thesis was, "Did you get battered?" And I said, "Well, he was bigger than me. I didn't get battered too much." And he goes, "Well, that's why we teach you martial arts." All right, and he's going about it. It's all good.
Not self-defense, just for attack.
There was a footprint on his blazer, and that's what caused a lot of concern with the staff. But it was a different time. So that's another bit. That's something people didn't know about me. I did get suspended.
Yeah, I mean, I think you went a bit deep there, but okay.
Sorry,
we'll take it.
Too much information. Yeah.
I got one final question for you. So what do you feel are the key? What's going to be key? What should we be aware of coming up in the industry in the short term?
I think we've got a lot of stuff that's on the cusp. I think the Web3 gaming is really ready to break through. We're seeing now some of the resistance that was there before is disappearing. I had some really interesting chats with some gaming brands, and they really see it as inevitable. They just don't want to be the people leading the charge. So I think as better games come out, and just today we saw Mythical games on the Epic Store. So, I think Web3 gaming is ready to break through, and that's going to change a lot of stuff. I think with utility-driven metaverses that are appearing, like us, that's really going to change everything as well. So far it's been very speculative. It's just been about buy land, and everyone was. I listened to the Joe Rogan show the other day, and it was him and one of the MMA fighters, Kamaru Usman, and they're just talking about the land and the metaverse, and they're like, we just don't get it. We don't understand the why. And to be fair, I wouldn't understand the why either if there's not a reason for owning it outside of it just being a digital speculative asset. So I think utility-driven metaverses where people putting the pieces together and make and new virtual destinations, that's next. And we want to be part of that. I think I think we've already, put our flag down. So look, this is what we think that can look like, and done something cool with arguably one of the best known people in the world, so that's good. And our games that are coming are good. So I think we've got all the right pieces, and I do think, I have said it before, I think mobile is a massive part of this conversation. That's why, getting that done, getting the approvals and getting people out there who are, sitting on a school bus or whatever, showing each other these cool digital things, because digital is the new normal for them. Digital ownership is very normal for them. Maybe not for the generations previously, but for them, yes. And showing that cool stuff, and the last thing I think brands that are birthed in the metaverse are going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. We've seen it with apes. We've seen it to a limited extent with doodles now, and stuff.
One that I saw today was Shredded Apes. That was a new one for me. Shredded Apes. They have a partnership with D-Gods. they're pushing out a pre-workout supplement. Right? And
what?
Yeah. And the line they said is they want to be the first Web3 fitness nutrition brand. Right? So I went into the store and they have hoodies, supplements, whey poetry, and their token is whey. Right? It's just nuts. So yeah, you're right. All these companies that give.
We're seeing it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Is that I think this is a new social. These hyper-connected communities that are engaging in new ways. You know, you have Bored Ape Coffee. You have all these kind of things, but we see it. You know, we're seeing it. It's really, really exciting. It's an exciting time. You know, and we're doing more in that space too. You know, yeah. So there's some interesting stuff coming up there as well.
Cool, man. Very nice. Very nice. What do you think about the merge yesterday?
Much better than everyone thought. You know, it was smooth. It was good. It's exciting. Again, it helps us in terms of narrative because that, you know, it makes things a little bit more environmentally friendly across Ethereum, Polygon. So that really helps. I think, you know, it takes away a lot of that pushback that we had from a lot of the partners we worked back. They were like, you know, are you not doing it on Ethereum, are you? So that changes. It's good. I like seeing tech progress along, you know, whenever we see that when the technology evolves, and you know, we really are at dial-up internet stage of Web3. That's where we are. Yeah. You know, it's so early. There's all these different blockchains. They're all trying to get different, you know, different people working on them, and everything is a bit siloed. It's going to change. That's the approach that we've taken. Yeah. Our blockchain layer sits separate from the asset layer, you know, because we don't know who's going to win. We don't know what's going to change. And the space does move so fast. It might be none of these chains. It might be something entirely new. You know, Aptos is doing some cool stuff. And, you know, there's Elrond, Algorand, Avalanche, all those guys are sitting in the wings. All of them are desperate to do something.
Yeah.
Let's see where we land. But yeah, I think the merge is a good thing. I think all that technological advancement is a good thing
for entire space. Yeah. Let's move it. Let's keep it moving. Yeah. So Ash, you know what? We know you have to leave. And so your time is valuable, but we have to subject you to the final piece of this podcast, and we always end with a Pierre Dadd special, right? So Pierre,
for me, I think we've created something we don't want to do.
No, we have to.
Last week we said that we were going to give away some HeroGasm comics, right, to people who commented and sent stuff in. Yeah. And we've had a few people come in with some dad jokes, and so I now, through the terms and conditions set out in the policy, have to read these out to you. So let me tell you some. We've got some UGC coming up. Right, here we go. First one. This is from Miller79. Okay, thanks Miller79. The best dad, he said the best dad joke I know is, why did the Scarecrow get an award?
Why?
Go on.
Because it was outstanding in its field. Okay. Okay, hang on. No, wait. I got two more. Let me find them. Hang on. Wait. Oh, here's another one. When does a joke become a dad joke?
When?
Go for it.
When it becomes apparent.
Oh,
and that's from that's JKill XRP. And there's one more, here's the last one. Right. This is from Virtual Maniac. Right. If you ever get cold, just stand in the corner of a room for a while. They're normally about 90 degrees.
Oh.
I don't get that joke because I never understood Fahrenheit and Celsius. I'm a Celsius person. Right. Is that warm?
I think it's it's hot. It's hot. We started something we don't want to.
So wait, are you going to give it for a best joke, Pierre? Is it for a best joke or for everyone who contributes?
I think these guys have contributed. I think we need to give them a copy of HeroGasm.
Yeah.
So we'll figure out a way to do that, and
do it.
Keep them coming, and next week we'll figure out something else.
You know who's the king of dad jokes is Gary.
Really?
Yeah, we'll need to get Gary on actually, because we, just as a final point, this week we got confirmed that Gary's going to be speaking at NFT London, which is coming up on the early November. So we'll get Gary on to talk a bit about that, I think, in next episode.
I'm going to go and take some rotten fruit and just hurl it at him.
I'm sure he'll appreciate it.
Yeah. I've been once
some arsehole dripping down his face.
Once me and Gary were at a show right? Because Jawad was out in the UAE a lot. So Gary and me were the guys on the ground here. And so a lot of the shows we do together. I remember once, and this was the Liverpool came out and Gary was hilarious. We had a bowl of, like you fill it with sweets and then people come and they grab a sweet or something, right? This lady came and she took a handful, like loads of them, like ridiculous portion, and just chucked them on the handbag. And Gary just lost it. He literally was hurling expletives and chased her down the corridor. It was so fun.
It doesn't sound like Gary.
Mate, it was so funny. It was really hilarious.
I love it.
You know, I heard you have some fun stories with Doug in South Korea, but I suppose what happens in South Korea stays in South Korea.
Doug can tell those stories, yeah. So like we've done tours where it's been like South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia. Yeah, Doug can tell his own stories.
Yeah, we'll ask him those. All right, everyone. That's it, right, Pierre?
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
That's
Thank
it.
you, Ash, for this fantastic episode of Virtual Vibes. And for everyone out there, send us those UGC, those dad jokes, and we'll have something for you next time. Till then, everyone, Pierre and Parves and Ash out. Peace.